right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nightly Sports Call. I'm Robbi. Incmikoski. Give us a call. I'm not Rich Walsh. I'm not Bob Pompiani. I'm ready for you to give me your opinions. 412-575-2600 is the number to give us a call. We're going to talk a lot of Steelers tonight. We're pleased to be joined by Brian Batko, who is a Steelers insider, who is in Latrobe tonight. I feel like you had a nice dinner tonight as well. Is that right, Brian?
Yeah, a little Steelers media dinner out in Latrobe. So that was a good time, but it's like it's a point in camp. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, I think I've got one or two more drives up there, Robbi. It's been real, it's been fun, but it'll be real fun to be back on the South Side soon.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say it. It's been real, it's been fun, but it'll be real fun when we're out of here. I saw a bunch of snazzily dressed media members at that table tonight in that picture, and it's nice to see the camaraderie you guys have. So let's talk a little Steelers. Obviously, the big story, Keanu Benton gets a 4-year extension, reported $72 million. That's $18 million a year for Keanu Benton. What do you make of this extension? How do you like it, Brian?
Yeah, obviously this front office, even more so than Mike McCarthy. I mean, he mentioned today he's the head coach, so of course he has to talk about it, but he has kind of less of a experience with Benton than most of the people around there, considering he's only been there since January. But my point is, Omar Khan, Andy Weidel, obviously they really like the nucleus that they've drafted and built. That's why you keep seeing these guys get extensions. And with Benton, he's somebody who really kind of broke out last year as that interior pass rusher. And it does look like this one is going to pay dividends. Ironically, maybe even without your first-round pick, Broderick Jones, being here for the long haul. But for now, we'll get to Joey Porter Jr. because I think that's the obvious next domino to fall. And
right.
What do people always do in this media world? Fans want to hear about the next thing. All right, that's old news now. Let's move on. But just for a second, give Benton his moment. 5.5 sacks last year. Had an interception actually a couple years ago. So he's one of those big guys who is light on his feet. Cam Hayward, it seems like he's going to play forever, but we know he won't. So you have to replenish that depth, and they've done so with Benton, and he's the first one in that defensive line pipeline to get rewarded with another deal.
Yeah, and it's not to mention Spencer Anderson, 7th-round pick. He's getting first-team reps at right guard right now. So you're talking about a 7th-round pick potentially could start this year. We don't know if he's going to, but there's a chance he does. And you look at all these other guys, the only guy not on the roster from 2023 is Corey Trice, and he had battled injuries before he got released. So all in all, I mean, you have to be happy with Andy Weidel and Omar Khan and what they've done so far if you're a Steelers fan. Would you not agree or disagree?
Yeah, a lot of people thought Corey Trice was a steal even at the end of that draft, but injuries just kept piling up for him, and we may never know what Broderick Jones would have done on his trajectory if not for that significant neck injury last year in Chicago, and now he's going to have to kind of fight back to relevancy, although he did play the most snaps of any offensive player Thursday night, so it was good to see him back in the mix against the Packers. Yeah, I mean, this class it's turning out to be a good one to set the Steelers up for a long time, and I think some people balk at the money sometimes for these guys, and especially Herbig, Washington, and Benton. You could say depth chart-wise they're quote-unquote backups, but I think if you look at it that way, you're kind of letting modern football usage pass you by because there's so many different sub-packages and personnel groupings, and it ultimately comes down to, hey, do you have a unique player who you probably won't be able to find in free agency and who you feel like impacts winning for you on a weekly basis? Obviously, with those three, the Steelers felt the answer was yes, and they'd pay to keep him around.
You know, how about $214 million total if they live out the life of their contracts and they see it all the way? The NFL, obviously, not everything's guaranteed, but nonetheless, that's a lot of contract. Can we go to Burton Rostraver right now, Jeremiah? Okay, we're going to go to him on the other side. So, Brian, we're going to come back here in just a moment on the Nightly Sports Call. When we come back, we'll get to Burton Rostraver, who wants to talk about Drew Aller. 412-575-2600. Give us a call. Air out your opinions right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Here's our Xfinity tweet of the night. It comes from Adam Schefter, NFL insider for ESPN. 3-time Pro Bowl quarterback Devin Witherspoon and the Seahawks reach agreement on a 4-year, $132 million extension that includes over $101 million guaranteed, makes him the highest paid cornerback in the history of the NFL. Now, we know this doesn't last very long in terms of highest paid fill-in-the-blank position anywhere. But, the guy who's watching us, obviously, here in Western Pennsylvania is JPJ, Joey Porter Jr., Brian Batko, Steelers insider, who's joining us here on the Nightly Sports Call. I'm going to offer my opinion, something I don't really do much on television. But look, Devin Witherspoon has made 3 Pro Bowls. Okay, obviously, he's proven himself to be an elite cornerback in the league. Joey Porter Jr. is an outstanding cornerback. I take nothing away from him. He has yet to make a Pro Bowl, and he's going to want similar money. I don't know that I would do it right now. I would let it ride out year to year and see if he performs up to it. What do you make of this, Brian?
Hey, a lot of the times, negotiations are not easy. And when you're talking about the stakes that are going to go on right here this time with Joey Porter Jr. and the Steelers, might even be difficult. Now, on one hand, I agree with you, Robbi. The accolades are there for Devin Witherspoon or somebody like Trent McDuffie, who got paid this offseason by the Rams after being traded from the Chiefs at corner. Denzel Ward re-upped with the Browns. Christian Gonzalez from the Patriots will probably be the next one in. Now, I think if you're the Steelers, you say, hey, Joey, you don't have the credentials of these guys as much as we love you and we want to keep you here long term. But if you're Joey Porter Jr., and I think he's made this point on his own behalf at times, you think your advanced numbers and some of the things you've done in coverage probably supersede maybe the lack of traditional achievements, or maybe you think it's a little bit of a popularity contest and you're an underrated player and you've got some numbers you can point to. So that's why it might get a little thorny here. But remember, we thought it was getting thorny in years past with TJ Watt. It eventually gets done. Yeah. Cam Hayward, it eventually gets done. Yeah. So when's the last time one of these sort of, I guess you could call it slam dunk extensions for the Steelers didn't end up getting done?
You know what I always wonder, like if you're Joey and his agent going into this, you see Witherspoon gets that crazy number at 132. I mean, does Omar Khan say, well, you're not as good as him, you're going to get this much? You know what I'm saying? Like, I always wonder what those conversations are like and how they even approach him,
Yeah, and that's why it's always difficult. I mean, the team's trying to, get the best deal they can. Obviously, the player is trying to maximize their earning power, and that's where you have to ultimately hope you can just meet in the middle somewhere that makes sense for both sides. Don't they say the sign of a good negotiation is that neither side comes out truly happy? But obviously these players are happy when they sign on the dotted line. And the big thing, too, here, let's not get hung up on the average annual value or even the total of the contract. The fully guaranteed money is usually a good way to sweeten the pot for a player, even if he's not hitting that top of the market and some of the more conventional numbers.
Yeah, he should be able to at least pay for a one-bedroom apartment on that money, $101 million guaranteed. What do you think, right?
I think so.
All right, let's go to Bert and Rostraver. Wants to talk some Drew Aller, talk a little quarterback situation. What's happening, Bert?
Guys, thanks. I have 2 quick things. I mean, the Steelers really look good, except early in the game, they were getting killed at tackle. And what's going on with tackle with them? I think they need to find a position for those guys and keep them there. I mean, they moved Fatana around. He's twisted a knee. They moved Jones around. He has a neck injury. Find a place and keep him there instead of making them reverse their techniques against these great pass rushers week after week. The second thing is with Drew Aller, it looks like to me like he's still hurt. And they all played great against the guys they were playing against, which is what he should do. I think the best thing with him is the red shirt. Let him learn as much as possible, get bigger, stronger, and healthier.
Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the offensive line there and the tackles specifically. I mean, you probably knew with Troy Fautanu moving from the right to the left that there might be some growing pains. You're just glad it's happening in the preseason week 1 instead of regular season week 1, and hopefully he gets that ironed out as he does kind of adjust to some of the different footwork and all that goes into it pre-snap, post-snap, going from right tackle to left tackle. Dylan Cook, he kind of struggled a bit on the right side in that game, but and he's talking about getting other guys in here. They have another guy. He's the first-round pick this year, Maxi Honachor, but he's a little dinged up right now, so he didn't get to play on Thursday. We'll see if he's back Friday for the Jets. As for Drew Aller, yes, I think this is going to be a kind of watch and learn year for him. I think he's the perfect sort of project for that in the NFL. You didn't draft him too high, so I don't think the expectations are necessarily there like they would be for, say, a first-round quarterback who you bring in here. Aaron Rodgers is firmly entrenched, so there's no pressure to compete that way. These preseason games are going to be huge for him for that very reason, because you might not see him in game action until next August once this is over. And that's why it was so encouraging what he did in his maiden voyage.
And there are worse things to do than learn under Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers. The two of them did win a Super Bowl together, and Aaron Rodgers is going to the Hall of Fame. It should be unanimous, obviously. That should not even be up for debate. And Mike McCarthy, known for developing quarterbacks the way he is. Let's go to Harry in Westview, who wants to talk a little more Steelers. What's up, Harry?
Hey, I want to talk some logic.
All right.
Change. We discuss in Steel Romania here the third-string quarterback and the fourth-string quarterback, and what we should do with them. And the fact of the matter is that we have a pretty good second-string quarterback, and the fourth-string quarterback should probably be on the practice squad. So I see no reason whatsoever to keep 4 quarterbacks. And the other thing is, you're talking about Aller, who was a head case at Penn State, and you're talking about Howard, who doesn't have an arm, and you put a lot of high hopes in him.
How did Will Howard do in college? Did he end his college career on a good note, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, national championship at Ohio State. Reasonable minds can disagree on his arm strength or even whether Drew Aller will ultimately reach his potential that he has physically. But I think the biggest thing to sort of pick apart there with Harry's call is you don't just get to elect to keep your 4th quarterback on the practice squad. There's a whole process that goes into making that happen. If you want to, you would have to cut one of those players on cutdown day and hope he doesn't get claimed by another team. Mm-hmm. And because of the things we just mentioned about Howard and Aller, and for that matter, by extension, Mason Rudolph and his NFL resume, think there's a solid chance that none of those guys would clear waivers and just revert to your practice squad so that you can keep all 4. That's why it's been a debate and discussion since the moment they took Aller.
And that's and I'm not picking on Harry, obviously, but what you say he doesn't have an arm. I mean, the guy's a national championship quarterback. I mean, how many other people have not? Drew Brees, he's not tall enough. Well, guess what? He just got his gold jacket going in the Hall of Fame. Russell Wilson, too short. We have all these stereotypes. They don't have this. They don't have that. They lack this. They lack that. You know what? Some guys just win. That's what it comes down to. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying Will Howard's going to be a Super Bowl winning NFL quarterback. That's not what I'm saying. But, I just sometimes it drives me a little crazy. We can just make these definitive statements. This guy is lacking X, Y, or Z. He hasn't taken a snap in the NFL yet, so we don't know. Now, obviously, we're not going to compare him to anybody else, right now. But sorry, I went on my soapbox a little bit. But these guys win. They win. Drew Aller, I don't know. I didn't follow his career too closely at Penn State. But if you're Mike McCarthy, you got to like what you have. At least if in the event Aaron goes down, right, Brian?
Yeah, and for Will Howard, the weird thing is, this is a good problem to have for the Steelers, but he sort of got immediately overshadowed in that game Thursday night. Because Drew Aller came in there and played so well, but Howard also played well in a small sample size there when he got the chance. That 2-minute drill to me was almost the most encouraging thing that you saw because, to your point, Robbi, yes, he was a 6th-round pick for a reason. The perceived lack of arm strength, probably a big part of that, and maybe teams didn't like what they saw from his throwing session at the combine or whatever, but he was obviously a gamer in college, and his first chance to go be a gamer again under the lights, I think he did just that. So it is going to be an interesting conversation with those 3 guys behind Aaron Rodgers. We know Aller is going to be in the mix as long as he stays healthy because he's a 3rd rounder. That's pretty much a moot point, but what happens between Rudolph and Howard is going to be stuff of intrigue the rest of this preseason. Yeah,
there's a cup of freezing cold water behind my back here, and I'm going to splash it on my face when we take this commercial break to cool off a little bit, Brian. We're going to be back. One more segment with Brian Batko, Steelers Insider, 412-575-2600. Back on the Sports Call right after this. We got about 2 minutes left here with Brian Batko, Steelers Insider. Brian, I want to point a couple things out. In terms of drafted players with the Steelers since 2017, T.J. Watt's obviously a home run. Mason Rudolph, 3rd round 2018. He went to Tennessee and came back. You only have Alex Highsmith and Pat Freiermuth left in terms of draftees. No one from the 2022 class is still on this Steelers roster. So when you look at how they kind of changed their philosophy a little bit, I guess, when Omar and Andy took over in terms of running the draft, and it's an extensive resume when you look at Andy Weidl, who's known for running draft boards and the picks that he's made so far. So if you're following along and you look how this is trended, don't you like kind of the way the Steelers approach this rebuild, starting first primarily in the trenches?
Yeah, and I think the overall depth is really showing, too. To tie this back into the contract extension topic and, what's going on right now with Keanu Benton and Joey Porter Jr., I think the options at cornerback are maybe better than we thought coming into this season. And that's what you're trying to do as a GM in a front office. Give yourself depth at key spots so that you never worry too much about losing one player to injury, or maybe in this case, if you lose a player to a contract that you thought was going to get done, and then, your season or your defense doesn't fall apart as a result. So when you've got guys like Asante Samuel Jr. looking like a nice find, Dalen Everett brought in the third round this year, maybe that changes the dynamic a little bit at corner.
And how about the Penn West University question of the night? Will the Steelers and Joey Porter Jr. reach an agreement? We got about, 50, what did I say, 52-48? My eyes are failing me a little bit. So, maybe they do, maybe they don't. We have no idea.
I'm not at 52-48, no. I still think it gets done. But obviously with each passing day, you get a little bit more concerned.
I say let him play it out a little bit, prove it a little bit more. I take it that way all the time. You give him money, does the player still have incentive? We'll see.
Yeah, but of course with the Steelers, they don't negotiate in season, so that's why that week one's always a hard deadline, Robbi.
Brian Batko does fantastic work. Check him out on the Steelers website. Thanks for joining us, Brian. We appreciate having you here tonight on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Stay tuned. We've got a lot more coming your way and then some right here on KDK+. Thanks for joining us tonight.